Welcome to the Enterprise Mobility Roundup podcast, brought to you by Blue Fletch. We discuss technology topics related to Android and workforce devices and how they intersect with business and mobility.
Right, Richard, thanks for joining me today. Today, we are going to spend a few minutes talking about a topic that is very near and dear to my heart, which is when will Siri and Alexa actually be able to answer my questions? So it's a thing that's in my house. My kids definitely are always trying to figure out why Alexa is so bad at answering things. But in actuality, I think we want to talk a bit about AI and ML and practical applications in the enterprise space. So how it actually is used and what it's actually used. So to get us started, I think one of the things that would help set the, level the ground for everybody, and I know me personally, it'd be nice. What is your actual definition of AI and ML, AI versus ML? Or are they just one group together when you tell people about it or teach people about it?
Well, it's like an apple and an orange. They're both fruits, but they're different. So AI or artificial intelligence leverages computers and machines to mimic the problem solving and decision making capabilities of humans. So if a computer or a machine tries to act or tries to answer you like a human, that's AI or artificial intelligence. Machine learning is a branch of AI similar because there's a fruit, but a little bit different. Machine learning is about taking data and algorithms and mimicking how humans learn and becoming more accurate with its predictions over time. So one tries to problem solve and mimic humans, the other tries to learn and become more accurate by the data that is fed.
Got it. Are they a bunch of big if-then loops, or how does it actually work? Is it weighted math, like Byzantine theory? What is the phrase? Did I pronounce it wrong?
I have no idea. Just like it takes a lot of folks are way more smarter than me. So it's different than traditional programming where you have if-then loops or print line or click button, but you have a series of neural nets. And what you want to do is you want to build a model to predict something, and you want to make it as small as possible. So, I want to have a model that could, recognize a peace sign. And so I would need to have lots of pictures of people holding peace signs differently, right? Different colors, different shapes, different sizes. And I feed it to the neural net. And then I give feedback to that neural net to say, you were correct with this one, you're wrong with this one, you're correct with this one. And over time, it'll increase in accuracy. And there's different ways you can build models to detect, things. You could do it by pixels, you could do it by shades, but the idea is that you have all the answers and you want to train this, call it neural net or black box, to become accurate in it. And so when you deploy it, you're deploying it hoping that it has some level of accuracy, just knowing that it's not going to be 100% perfect, but it should get close.
Got it. So the phrase training is related. When they say training the ML, training the AI, that's related to that, like getting closer to accuracy.
Yes. Unfortunately, unlike Allen Iverson, like it has to practice. You need to train.
Got it. All right. So shifting gears, we're going to talk a bit about, we talked about this before. I think you had some notes on 4 trends or 4, key areas we're actually seeing practical applications of AI and ML in the enterprise or in the end users, work environments. And we all have Siri, we all have Alexa or OK Google, but I think I probably just set off a bunch of people's phones right about now. But trends. The first trend you'd mentioned when we talked about this before was voice. Tell me a bit about more about voice and how that's used, or how you see that being used out in the workforce.
Yep, just like I would use it at home. If I'm, playing with my daughters and I want to play some music, whatever smart device I have in the house, I'm going to yell out to it. I know Alexa is connected to my Amazon account, so anytime I need to order something or reorder something, I'm yelling at that. So if I'm in a work environment and if it's repetitive tasks or repetitive questions that I'm going to a computer to look up or pull it out of a device to answer, could I just have, a headset on or a mobile device that I could talk to that could just give me that information? It helps keep me hands free so I could stay on task with what I'm already doing, or I could be more efficient with the task that I'm already on and do more with my hands. And so, thinking about, what are the things I'm constantly looking up? You might have to go out there and talk to your workforce to understand, how you could take that off their plate. But that's one of the first places I would start.
To voice, like I know we've seen this a lot in warehouses, voice picking, and I feel like it's getting a lot smarter. But yeah, I think the voice assist stuff would be interesting when the guy at carrying boxes at Home Depot, but just like shout out to his phone and have it answer, and tell me where something is in the next bay over, aisle over. The second trend you mentioned was around computer vision and things that are just getting better and faster. Can you talk about that a bit?
Yeah, it's a computer vision, but I also think sensors could be in this category. So the idea around computer vision is very similar to our Ring or Nest doorbell cameras, where it can detect somebody's at our front door or a package was left. Somebody rang your front door, and so could we use computer vision throughout the enterprise in a similar way? One way is, how we do with authentication here at Blue Fletch, using facial recognition to re-authenticate somebody really quickly. Therefore, I can pick up a device, it's sleep, it can read my face and know that it's me and it's safe to let me back in my session versus prompt for passcode. The other could be, if I'm in a retail situation, merchandising or shelf resets or sequencing. So if it knows what a good shelf picture is, it can always compare that with what's going on. And if it's a discrepancy, let somebody know that it's an issue that needs to be addressed. We've, done pilots in high consideration areas in retail, right? So a situation where I can't just pick something off the shelf and buy it, I actually need an associate to help me place this custom order. So if I'm able to recognize that this is a customer, they're waiting, I can then.
When you say high considerations, that's like blinds, or you have to cut the blinds custom, or carpet, or what's the type of
Blinds,
things?
carpet, cabinetry, just anything where I have to place a custom order and I can't pick it up off the shelf, where I absolutely need associate assistance.
So using the cameras to flag down somebody to actually help me when I'm standing there waiting on somebody to show up.
Right. So my 10 or 15 seconds that feel like 2 minutes don't actually turn into 2 minutes that feel like 20 minutes. And now my experience as a customer is going, down.
What about for LP or for shoplifting and things like that, like spotting shoplifters? Is that something you're seeing more of?
A bit. Different states and, if you're global, different countries have different regulations as far as like what you can capture, especially specifically around facial recognition, especially when somebody hasn't opted in. So in an employee workforce, through your employee contract, typically are opting in to some of these asks. But as a customer, like I'm just coming in and, the relationship is different. So you see it as far as capturing evidence to say that, yes, this person stole, here's the video, can we prosecute, can we get the money back? And then, it's also providing better ways to, alert store associates. So if we could catch a repeat offender, so if somebody has been identified as a person who steals, you can alert somebody as soon as they show up on property.
Yeah, interesting. The next trend you talked about was the personal assistant, or maybe the bot. Can you talk about that a little more?
Yeah, so it's a bit in conjunction with voice, but a little bit different. So we haven't gone to co-robots and started talking about bringing Johnny Five to work, having a Johnny Five there when he gets there, and I'm probably dating myself. But if I had a bot or a personal expert who could assist me. So, going back to retail, if, I'm the guy that's typically in garden, but I'm covering for the guy in paint and somebody asks me a specific question, are there questions that I could ask my assistants that could, give me, recommendation for painting a house that's X amount of years old, or should I use enamel for this, or when do I use paint thinner? And so just those leg ups, help.
Yeah, have an expert database that's easy to actually search through as opposed to a big book the guy has to flip out on the desk.
Yes, I ask about weather and if it's going to rain before I get dressed every morning. And without that, I probably would go out the house looking like a hot mess, a couple of days.
Yeah, got it. And then I think the other thing I know I've seen this is that the assist, like having computers actually, the computer AI not actually replacing you, but assisting you. I know I've seen this. I think there was a chess league where they had grandmasters that were using the AI to assist them, and it made the game faster and actually helped them move quicker, which made it pretty interesting. And then I know for writing, there's a tool called Jarvis that is it's not actually a good writer. It's a terrible writer, but it helps when you get writer's block. You ask it to write something for you, and it tries to look at everything you've done and uses, I think it's GTP3, to actually figure out what it should write next. And I would say probably 90% of the time it writes garbage, but it's garbage is always easier to fix than trying to come up with something net new when you got writer's block.
Yeah, you see some of that in manufacturing, where, especially when you think about how they're leveraging like heads up and some of the augmented and mixed reality to say, we're adding on to the voice picking, right? So now it's in my ear telling me what I need to pick now, but also, the AI is showing me exactly where it is in space and giving me directions how to get there. And then I could also be alerted or have slight help to know what's coming next. To know, okay, I'm about to go pick some light stuff. Let me run over here and do the next thing is heavy. Let me make sure I have something that's going to help me lift. So to your point, it's those little assists that just add up, day over day, times X amount of people around X amount of facilities. So, those small seconds all add up.
Pretty soon we'll all be wearing Tony Stark exosuits.
We can only hope.
Got it. And then the last trend you mentioned when we were chatting about this was AI at the edge, and I think this is related to the fact that as their devices double up on power, continue to double up on CPU every 2 years, there's just more things you could do at the edge. But what does that look like to you, or where do you see that going in the next 3 or 4 years?
So it's things that you can do at the edge. So meaning that it's happening on a device. It doesn't necessarily need to go back to the server or the cloud. And so, one of the great practical examples of that, has been, voice to text, especially if I'm communicating, helping to communicate around a location. Something that you and I have done is just OCR, right? So could I use a device or use computer vision to check labels, make sure pricing is correct, base sequencing. So, all the things I can push down to an edge device that I'm not having, chatty interference across my network, always helps. So, this is almost like a extra credit. So if you're already doing some AI things or putting AI into your, employees' hands in the workforce, AI at the edge would just be extra credit.
What's I guess one of the advantages of AI in the cloud is that you're getting data from a lot more data points, whereas AI at the edge is just a single, I guess, data set or learning set that the ML is basing everything off of. Is that the biggest difference between the two?
Yeah, it's a model that you can deploy that doesn't require, a great data set. So like when I gave the example of recognizing, a peace hand or peace sign, you could probably deploy a lightweight model that could detect that. So if I had a lightweight model that could transcribe the human voice or English voice, or transcribe, somebody who may not speak good English or not speak a good language to that language, all little things that could help somebody be more efficient in an area where they may struggle a bit.
Got it. And I guess the biggest difference, like thinking about the future. So I think my next question was, when will we have Jarvis on my cell phone? Will that ever happen? Is it just too much data that it would need for learning the things to be practical there?
So it's a great question. So I think with the three big companies that you named, they work great in certain instances. Siri always gets beat down, but it's because Apple has a very tight grip around user privacy. They want to protect that. They want to be seen as a secure device. So Siri just doesn't have as many data points as OK Google. which works pretty well. And if you're using an Android phone, there's sometimes, the phone will tell you where you need to be next or what you want to listen to before you need to do it because it's looking at your calendars, looking at your email. It's looking at everything that you're doing and trying to stay one step ahead of you. And Alexa is very similar. However, now it's tied into your shopping habits. And so a little bit more information that it's just collecting. And so when you think about the employee workforce, and we talked about how the relationship is different from a consumer to a business versus an employee, the businesses ought to be collecting a lot of rich data. They can be highly accurate and provide that assistance that could, be deployed and be very effective. And so when I think about just that enterprise bubble, they ought to have the advantage, but it's just a matter of them being able to, own and maintain that long term. Like that's, the real big question.
Yeah, I guess the other thing there is the scale of consumers is so much bigger that that's why enterprise has been a laggard behind consumer. Would that be a correct statement?
Yeah, I mean, if I can deploy something out and it reach, billions of people and you get, a lot of feedback and it's battle tested, then it's much easier to go down to an enterprise versus the other way, where I'm going to battle test something against maybe tens of thousands of people, maybe hundreds of thousands, if you're lucky.
Yeah.
Uh,
Got it. Interesting. So in summary, the four trends you called out, the first one, voice, so that the voice assist, calling something out, having a device in a work environment be able to help you or assist you with that. Second was computer vision. So whether it's the cameras on employee handhelds or cameras that are fixed, looking at shelves or looking at spaces in businesses. The third application around practical application of AI and ML is the personal assistant. So having expert knowledge that you can feed to your employees very quickly. And the fourth one is the AI at the edge, which be interesting in the next 5 to 10 years as these devices keep doubling up. I guess for you, when you think about somebody getting started with AI, what is the first step in the direction of actually making AI happen or making practical applications of ML and those other tools in their business?
Yeah, so over the last few years, ML and AI have become very accessible. There's models out there from an ML perspective that you can just download and use that people have put a lot of time and thought into. But if you're in an IT department in a big enterprise, if you're using cloud services from Google, Microsoft, or AWS, or whoever is your cloud provider, are there AI or ML tools already built into the products or services that you're using? I know that a lot of the database and big data services are starting to have AI and ML already bundled up in there, and so it's just a matter of almost checking a checkbox and writing some queries or trying to build your own model at a very high level and tweak and train and make it go to practice before you deploy it. So that'd be the first place I would start. The second place with a lot of these devices, especially on Android, if you have Google mobile services, if it's GMS enabled, would be just look at the services that Google is already offering on those devices. And if you're deploying Apple devices, bless your heart, but there's a lot that Siri offers. I remember going to WWDC in 2016, and you were able to use Siri at that time for free for a handful of different AI components baked right into your Apple app. And I thought that was really neat and really innovative at the time. They didn't do a lot to, really talk about it or market it, but like it was there and very accessible.
So you already have. And I think the other thing that I always think about around this is just the repetitive tasks, the things your employees are doing over and over again. I think you made the comment of get out there and go talk to people, ask people what they don't like doing, go talk to your experts. What are your experts doing that if you copy that or give that same skill, make somebody else give them a superpower, or take that superpower and give it to other people. So I think those are the things I think about from an operational standpoint that really helps. So Richard, appreciate chatting with us about this today, and hopefully we'll see Jarvis in our pocket here in the next 5 to 10 years, where it's actually a little bit better than Alexa when I ask it for questions, and
Yep.
it just starts playing some random music.
Yeah.
But really appreciate it, and thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to the Enterprise Mobility Roundup podcast. If you enjoyed the discussion, please take a few moments to rate us. If you would like to listen to future episodes, please subscribe. To learn more about mobility topics or submit any questions, visit us at bluefletch.com.